everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Carolyn Talks. This is the podcast slash YouTube channel where I, your host, Carolyn Hines, film critic and journalist, speak to film creators around the world about their work, the industry, and what inspires them. And today's one of my interviews for the 2024 New York Asian Film Festival. And I'm joined by writer and director Chae Young to talk about his film, Frankenstein Father, which is about the relationships between fathers and sons, but also men and boys. I think there is a difference, and we're going to discuss that. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Chae Young to talk about the film. Thank you so much for joining me.
네, 일단 오늘 시간 내주셔서 너무 감사하고요. 이 2024년 뉴욕 아시안 영화제에서 상영을 하게 된 프랑켄슈타인 아버지에 대해서 얘기를 하게 됐고, 저는 캐롤라인 하인즈라고 전 세계 영화인들과 이제 무엇이 영감을 받고 이제 어떤 식으로 이제 영화를 제작하는지에 대해서 얘기를 하는 팟캐스트와 유튜브 채널을 운영을 하고 있는 캐롤라인 하인즈라고 합니다.
네, 맞습니다.
네.
So my first question is actually going to be about what inspired you to make this film? Because there's plenty of films about fathers and sons, but I don't think I've ever seen a film that directly talks about men who are sperm donors who never think of themselves as fathers. They just think of themselves as donors. What inspired you to create this film?
일단 이 영화를 제작하게 된 계기 혹은 이제 어디서 영감을 얻어서 만들게 됐는지가 궁금한데요. 부자 관계에 관한 영화들은 많이 봤지만 사실 이런 식으로 이제 부자 관계를 다루는 특히 이제 정자 기증을 한 남성과 이제 사실상 이제 DNA 유전자적으로 같은 남성과의 관계는 사실 보기가 드는데.
네. 저는 전통적으로 아버지와 아들의 관계라는 것을 너무나 당연하게 생각해왔다고 생각이 들어요. 그러니까 모녀 관계, 어머니랑 딸의 관계도 당연히 어머니는 이래야 되고 딸은 이래야 된다는 것처럼 부자 관계도 그래야 됐다고 생각을 하는데 최근 들어와서 진짜 아버지라고 아버지답게 행동을 하는가? 정말 아들이라고 아들답게 행동을 하는가? 아버지다운 건 뭐고 아들다운 건 뭘까? 라는 가치관이 요즘은 붕괴되고 있는 시점이라고 생각이 들어서 딱 정자는 하나의 소재이고 조금 더 그런 모모다운 것, 아버지다운 것, 아들다운 것 이런 것에 대해서 얘기를 해보고 싶었습니다. 예.
I think traditionally the father-son relationship has pretty much been taken for granted, in my opinion. I feel like there is a lot of stories and a lot of thought that is put into, say, a daughter and mother relationship, such as, a mother should be such and such, or a daughter should be such and such. But I felt that was lacking when it comes to the father and son realm. And I really wanted to sort of delve into what is it to be a father and what is it to be a son? I feel like in the world we live in today, it's a world where these values on what it means to be a father or what it means to be a son is constantly being sort of blurred, and these values are being are quite murky, I think. And so a sperm donor, that is, say, the starting point and the starting subject of my film. But I think more importantly, I really wanted to delve into what does it mean to be a father and what does it mean to be a son?
I agree, because many films, like, this is not just in Korea, but just like globally, when they talk about parenthood, and if it is talking about fathers, it's more from the perspective of, I think a lot of them actually have, like, there aren't even that many, now that I'm thinking about it, where they talk about the responsibility of a father and what makes a father, and your film is very much, people say it's about nurture versus nurture, but I think it's more about responsibility, like accepting that responsibility of being a parent. So talk to me about making the film about that first thing first, because it's not about, to me, I didn't say as nurture versus nurture. I saw it more as about accepting responsibility as an adult for a child.
말씀하신 것처럼 전 세계적으로도 확실히 그런 경향이 있는 것 같습니다. 뭐 아버지와 이제 아들의 관계에 대해서 얘기를 한다기보다는 그런 영화가 있는지도 사실은 지금 잘 생각이 안 나는데요. 이제 다른 리뷰들을 보면은 이 영화는 이제 자연 대 이제 양육, 이제 그 두 가지 세력 중에 어느 것이 우세한가라는 평들도 있는데요. 제가 보기에는 사실 아버지로서 책임을 진다는 것은 무엇을 의미하는지, 혹은 이제 부모로서의 책임을 다한다는 게 무슨 의미인지라고 저는 생각을 하는데, 그 점에 대해서 생각을 하시는지.
저도 뭐 감독으로서 가만히 보면 의미의 층위가 여러 가지가 있다고 생각을 하는데 하나는 아까 말한 양육과 뭐 본성적인 게 당연히 있을 거고 두 번째로는 가족 관계 얘기도 있고 세 번째 가장 어떻게 보면 본질적으로 하고 싶었던 얘기는 가족을 넘어서서 좀 더 인간에 대한 얘기였던 것 같아요. 그러니까 네. 그러니까 결과적으로 아버지와 아들을 떠나서 한 인간으로서 혼자 우뚝 서는, 혼자 자립하는, 어떻게 보면은 내가 가지고 있는 타인에 대한 의존성을 벗어나는 인간으로서 그런 거듭나는 것을 저는 가장 이제 좀 궁극적으로 생각을 했던 것 같아요. 그래서, 어, 제가 이제 작품을 만들 때 의도했던 게 세 명의 남자들, 나이도 다르고, 뭐 상황도 다른데, 다 어떤 의미에서는 아직 성숙하지 못했다고 생각을 하고, 다 소년 같은, 나이가 많건 적건. 근데 그들이 저마다, 좀 슬픈 방식이든, 기쁜 방식이든, 한 인간으로서 성장하는 모습을 저는 하려고 했습니다. 예.
I think as a director, I'm always thinking of the levels of meaning that a film can have. And yes, I agree that it does touch upon the problem of nature versus nurture, but I think it also touches upon family relationships. And I think fundamentally for me, I think I was trying to tell a story that not only deals with family relationships or people within a family relationship, but what it means to be a human being. To be more specific, what does it mean to stand on your own as an individual, as a human being, and to not rely on someone and to not constantly simply lean on someone and to individually become your own person. There are three men who are particularly showcased in this film, and they differ in age and circumstance, but in their own ways, they are not completely mature in their own ways. They still have some lesson to learn, and I think I was trying to ultimately depict their growth as human beings and as men in this film.
Yeah, there are three very distinct characters. And before we talk about the characters, something just occurred to me, and I want to ask you about it as a male filmmaker in particular, and talking about a film about self-reliance and responsibility and raising children. Something that I have always observed when it comes to filmmaking is how when there's a child that needs to be rescued, it's always a girl. I don't know of any film where it's a boy that needs to be rescued. For instance, there's films like a Man from Nowhere. One of my all-time favorite films is about a man rescuing a girl. You know, more recently you have like A Man of Reason by Jung Woo Sung, where it's again a man rescuing a little girl. And even if you go on Western, like the Western side of filmmaking, there's films like Taken, you know, where it's men rescuing girls. I want to ask you, particularly as a male filmmaker, why do you think that is? Why is it that they never think that boys need to be rescued too? And I kind of see the film is kind of like that, where Young Jae, he's asking to be rescued, but it's not coming across that way. So it's almost you're just on the cusp of it where you're saying like Young Jae can be rescued. So I want to ask you about that.
네, 제가 보기에는 뭐 이제 남성 감독으로서도 이제 여쭙고 싶은 질문인데요. 보통 영화를 보면은 뭔가 구원해야 할 대상이 있으면 거의 무조건적으로 여자아이가 등장하잖아요. 뭐 아저씨에서도 그렇고, 뭐 서구에서도 뭐 테이큰처럼 다 이제 여자가 이제 구원을 받아야 할 대상으로 그려지는데, 이 영화에서는 특별히 이제 왜 남자를 어떻게 보면 이제 그런 구원의 대상으로 설정을 했는지. 근데, 그것도 이제 단순히 이제 구원을 받아야 할 대상이 아니라 제가 봤을 때는 이 영재라는 아이도 구원을, 받으려는 존재이기도 하면서 근데 사실 그 양상을 보면은 그렇지 않은, 양상도 보일 수 있는데 그 점에 대해서는 어떻게 보시는지.
저는 남성 캐릭터가 약자인 여성 캐릭터를 구원하는 영화에는 어느 정도 마초성이 있다고 생각을 합니다. 그러니까 그들이 심지어 마지막 남자 캐릭터가 죽음으로써 되게 숭고한 어떻게 보면은 최후를 맞이함으로써 그들의 강인함을 영화는 되게 멋있게 다룬다고 생각을 하는데요. 근데 저는 조금 그 마초성 이면의 나약한 면들을 다루고 싶었어요. 그것이 어떻게 발현되냐면은 제가 생각했을 때는 아까 이제 뭐 가족 관계 얘기를 하자면은 아버지가 자기 아들에게 본인의 모습을 투영한다고 저는 생각을 했습니다. 그러니까 구원한다는 명목이죠. 나는 너를 구원하기 위해서, 너를 위해서 하는 거야. 하고 푸시하고 얘한테 프레셔를 주지만 사실은 그게 자신의 나약한 어떻게 보면은 마초적인 것에 가려진 자기의 나약한 모습이 투영되었기 때문에 그렇다고 생각을 하고 사실 실제로도 뭐 양상은 다양하겠지만 아마 전 세계적으로도 좀 많은 아버지가 아들에게 갖는 감정이 그렇지 않을까. 그러니까 너를 위한 거고 이런 거 있잖아요. 진정한 남자가 되려면 진정한 맨이 되려면 이렇게 해야 돼. 라는 그 심리를 잘 판단해 보면은 사실은 아들을 구하려 한 게 아니라 나약한 나를 어떻게든 이 아들의 존재로서
Mm.
실은 이용하는 거죠. 근데 뭐 이렇게 구원받으려고 하는 그런 제 약한 모습이 있지 않을까? 저는 그거를 남성들의 약한 모습을 또 보여주고 싶기도 했어요. 제가 그런 모습에 좀 더 관심이 있고 그래서 네.
I do feel that inherently, when you see those films where a man is, saving a woman or a girl, I think that inevitably has a sort of macho masculinity that's inherent in it, and almost a sort of masculine martyr type hope, where even, for example, like even when, say, the man dies, he's dying in a fit of masculinity. But for me, I think what interested me more is not the masculinity, but the vulnerability that's hidden beneath that masculinity, I think. And I think the thing that I wanted to explore was that I feel that men or fathers, inevitably, they are trying to project those vulnerabilities into their sons. So they will say, to their sons, I am doing this for your sake, and this is all for you. But when you really look into the truth of it, the truth is that they are projecting their own vulnerabilities as men to their sons. And I think that is a worldwide phenomenon as well. I feel that, there are sayings where fathers will say to their sons, you need to do such and such to become a real man, or, to be a true man. But in reality, they're actually using their sons to project their own vulnerabilities, and even almost maybe it's a vulnerability of wanting to be saved themselves. And that's something that I wanted to explore more in my film, and that's why this story came about.
Majayo, I agree completely. It is very much about the ego, and it's about the masculinity. And in talking now about Chi Sung in first, I got the sense that he always wished that he had someone to rescue him, but he didn't. He had to grow up, and he was forced to grow up as a child and look after himself. So he didn't have anyone to rescue him. And then so that affected the way he interacts with people. He doesn't know how to be soft. He doesn't know how to be comforting. He's very regimented. And so talk to me about this character, because he's a doctor. I think he's an ENT, or ear, nose, and throat doctor. And I thought it was an interesting choice for a character like this, that kind of perfection, where he has to be very close to people, but when it comes to emotions, he's very distant to them. So he takes a job. He's physically close, but he's emotionally distant. So talk to me first about creating Chi Sung as a character and how he's a representation of how boys are forced to grow up on their own because they don't have anyone to do that, to guide them along how to guide them in growing up.
네. 제가 보기엔 치성이라는 캐릭터는 어떻게 보면 그러니까 간절히 이제 누군가 자기를 구원해주기를 바랐었던 아이였던 것 같은데, 스스로 커야만 했었던 그런 캐릭터로 보이는데, 근데 그런 상태로 이제 어른이 되다 보니까 그 상대 어떤 타인에 있어서 어떻게 뭐 부드럽게 대한다거나 어떤 감정적인 뭐 친밀감을 유지를 한다거나 그런 면에서는 굉장히 뭔가 뒤떨어지는 모습도 보이기도 하고 굉장히 좀 편집증적인 모습도 보이기도 하는데요. 이비인후과 쪽 그 의사인 걸로 저는 판단을 했는데 그것도 되게 어, 걸맞는 선택이라고 생각했거든요. 왜냐하면 사람을 상대를 해야 되고, 근데 이제 감정적으로는 좀 이제 거리감이 있는 인물인데, 사람은 굉장히 이제 신체적으로는 사람을 굉장히 가깝게 대할 수밖에 없는 그런 직업을 가진, 그 대비감도 굉장히 좀 인상적이었고요. 네, 치성이라는 캐릭터를 이제 어떻게 디벨롭 시켰는지.
네. 저는 치성이라는 캐릭터는 겉으로 보면은 되게 견고하고 좀 멋있다면 멋있는 성곽을 가지고 있지만 어린 아이 때 하던 모래성 쌓기의 연장선에서 벗어나지 못한 인물이라고 처음에 생각을 했어요. 그러니까 우리가 성숙한다는 거는 결국 어떻게 보면은 부모님이 됐든 뭐가 됐든 어쨌든 내가 과거에 있던 것을 하나씩 부셔나가면서 더 넓어지는 과정인데 그러니까 시성은 자기 자신의 영역 안을 굳건히 지키면서 그 안에서 되게 완벽해지려고 노력을 한 거죠. 그래서 의사 중에서도 되게 여러 가지 의사가 있잖아요. 사람의 진짜 목숨을 살리는 의사도 있을 거고, 어떤 사람이 못하는 거를 할 수 있게끔 만드는 의사도 있을 거고, 그런데 이제 치성이 내과를 선택한 거는 저는 아무래도 치성이 강조하고 있는 항상성이라는 개념, 아, 가장 치성이 중요하게 생각하는 지금의 내 상태를 가장 잘 유지하고, 그러니까 내가 뭔가 더 나아지는 게 아니라 내가 어제 펴굽혀기 50개를 쓰면 오늘도 해야 되고 앞으로도 그래야 되고 내 상태를 잃으면 안 돼. 지금의 내 모습을 잃으면 안 되는 것에 되게 깊게 빠져있는 인물이라서 아까 말했던 내과라는 것에 맞다고 생각을 했고요. 그리고 이제 네, 그리고 자신의 어떻게 보면은 책임을 의사로서 환자에 대한 책임을 되게 많이 갖고 있는 의사들도 있잖아요. 하지만 자기는 그런 게 아닌 거죠. 책임을 지고 싶지 않은 인물이기 때문에 수술을 하는 외과는 또 아니라고 생각을 했습니다. 그래서 치성이라는 캐릭터가 영화에서는 아무래도 조금 더 뭐 코믹한 모습도 많이 나오고 드라마타이즈가 되긴 했지만 제 주변에 이제 흔히 한국으로 하면 전문직이라고 하는데 그런 직업의 분들 중에 되게 완벽해 보이는데 곰곰이 들여다보면은 또 그런 캐릭터들을 저는 몇 번 본 것 같거든요. 물론 제가 그래서 재창조를 했지만 또 그런 것에 대해 영감을 얻었던 것 같습니다. 네.
Mm.
I feel that the character of Qisong, he is a person who has built sturdy castle walls around himself, but he has never gone past those walls himself. And when you think about it, I think he is a person that has not been able to actually get out of the stage of a child who's playing with, sandcastles. He's still in that same state because I think to mature as a person, you should be able to rectify your past self and to expand your horizons. But he was a person who is staunchly wanting to keep within his own walls and to keep those own walls intact. You mentioned his profession, and yes, that was something that I had to think about. He's an internal medicine, but I think the reason why I chose that is because internal medicine is all about maintenance, right? It's not about improving or making yourself better. It's about keeping a constant sort of maintaining the balance of your internal organs that you have. That's why you see him, if he's doing, a certain number of push-ups a day, he's going to keep doing the same number of push-ups, right? It's to maintain that sameness. And also I think he is a person, at least he starts out as a person of not wanting to take responsibility for himself or others. And so when you think about different, medical professions, there are surgeons who are actively taking responsibility for people's lives, but I didn't think he would be a surgeon because of those responsibility issues. And so, yes, Chisong is a dramatized fictional character, of course, but I feel like in my own life, I have seen certain, doctors who look perfect on the outside, but when you look into them, they are quite, when you look inside, there are people who are quite immature and not as perfect as you may think they are. And so that came about from my own experiences as well.
Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, he's very regimented and he's very about maintaining everything, which is like why he, again, like not only is his profession an interesting choice for a character like him, but his having a fantasy to sail around the world, and like he wants to sail on a sailboat himself, and that's interesting because the sea is unpredictable. The sea is a monster, it's a beast, and if you don't respect it, it will gobble you up. And like you can have things like rogue waves and hurricanes and storms. And you would think that for a hobby, he would want to choose a hobby that is more controlled, like a sport. But he wants to sail, and sail is unpredictable. No matter how much of a good sailor he is technically, once he's out on the water, that's it. Like he's like the elements are in control. So talk to me about that. I want to talk about Young Jae, but Chi Sung is very interesting to me as a character because he's a man of contradictions.
네, 뭐 영재에 대해서 얘기를 하고 싶지만 일단은 치성의 캐릭터가 너무너무 흥미로워서요. 굉장히 어떤 모순적인 인물인 것도 같은데 아까 말씀하신 것처럼 또 굉장히 경직되면서도 근데 또 이제 배를 타고 항해를 하겠다는 어떤 판타지와 환상을 이제 가지고 있는 인물인데 생각을 해보면 사실 바다는 정말 예측을 할 수 없는 것이잖아요. 아무리 뭐 연습을 많이 해도 사실은 뭐 바다는 뭐 정말 예측을 할 수 없는 대자연인데 그런 생각을 했을 때는 지성이라는 캐릭터가 취미로 조금 더 컨트롤이 가능한 취미를 고를 수도 있었는데 뭐 그 점에 대해서 뭔가 얘기를 해줄 수 있다니.
네, 저는 치성이라는 캐릭터가 조금 과장될 수도 있겠지만 딱딱한 겉모습과는 다르게 되게 자신의 소년 시절을 간직하고 있는 인물이라고 생각을 했어요. 그러니까 이거를 너무 아끼는 거죠. 스스로를 너무 불쌍하게 생각하기도 하고 얘가 행복했으면 좋겠고 속에 이미 지나가 버린 나의 과거에 대해서 그러다 보니까 이 꿈도 저는 계속 꾸고 있다고 생각을 하는데 하지만 그럼에도 불구하고 좀 이 비극이라면 비극인 게 시성이 처음 그 꿈을 가지게 된 게 어떻게 보면 시작은 아버지, 그런 것을 하지 못하는 아버지 때문에 가지게 됐는데 우리 살다 보면은 나는 정말 아버지처럼 안 될 거야 라고 혹은 어머니처럼 안 될 거야 라고 부모를 강하게 의식하면 의식할수록 그들의 그늘에서 벗어날 수 없는 경우가 많더라고요. 그러니까 어떻게 보면 치성도 진짜 순수하게 떠나고 싶은 마음도 있지만 한편으로는 아버지를 너무 강하게 의식하고 또 이게 되게 모순적이고 양가적인 감정들이 때문에 이 소년스러운 자신의 어린 시절을 소중하게 지키면서도 함부로 이렇게 탁 풀어놓고 하지 못하는 그런 두 가지의 모습이 있지 않을까. 네.
Chisel for me, I think it may seem a little exaggerated, but I think he still holds on to a part of his child self and wants happiness for his child self who was not happy and still dreams of happiness for his child self. But I think the tragedy of this situation is that the dream of going to sea that actually started because of his dad, right? I think the more we as children really are conscious of our parents and think, I won't be like my dad or I won't be like my mom. I think the more we think that way, the more we cannot escape from the shadows of our parents. And so I think even if he wants to leave, there are very contradictory feelings about his self and about his father that are preventing him from actually leaving. And so I think he is constantly caught between wanting, that happiness for his former child self, but also just not able to really just erupt and just really just take that happiness for himself.
Yeah, that is very much how it is with children and their parents. And this is where people would talk about nurture versus nature versus nurture. Like for me, as try as I might, and think I'm more different to my parents than I want to be. I'm very similar. Like I have my mom's voice. My mom and I sound exactly the same way. I have my dad's nose, and there's some things we just can't run away from. And the film does talk about that no matter how distant we are from our parents, there are just some things about our parents that we can't escape, whether it's genetic or whether it's circumstantial. And in saying that, so like that's where Young Jay comes in, because Young Jay is a representation of that, where he may have never met Chi Sung, but some aspects of him come from Chi Sung. You know, like for instance, like he likes sports, and he's attracted to like wanting to be a loner the same way that Chi Sung is, and there's some things that Young Jay wants to be like Chi-san, but there are many things that he doesn't want to be. So talk to me about that's where nature versus nature comes in the film. So talk to me about Young Jae being like Chi-san, even if he doesn't want to be.
음. 네, 뭐, 이런 면에서는 사실 뭐 양육과 본능 사이에서 뭐 질문을 할 수밖에 없게 되는 것 같은데요. 영재 캐릭터 같은 경우에는 뭐 치성을 만난 적은 없어도, 치성과 닮을 수밖에 없는, 유전적으로, 닮을 수밖에 없는 부분도 있지만, 그러고 싶지 않아 하는 영재의 모습도 발견할 수 있는데요. 그 점에 대해서 뭐 말씀해 주실 수 있는지.
네. 처음에 영재가 치성을 찾아왔던 거는 동경이 가장 컸을 거라고 생각을 해요. 그러니까 그 나이 때에 10대 중반에 내 아를 키워준 아빠보다는 뭔가 잘난 아버지를 찾아간다는, 그러면은 겉으로는 얘를 협박하려고 하겠지만 속으로는 그래도 이 사람이 궁금하고 이 사람을 동경하는 마음이 숨겨져 있을 거라고 생각을 하는데, 점점 느꼈을 것 같아요. 영재가, 아, 나는 이 남자의 길을 가서도 안 되는구나. 그러니까 나를 키워준 그러니까 동석이라는 아빠의 길을 가서도 안 되겠지만, 이 남자도 내가 보기에는 완벽하게 보이지만 그게 아니구나. 나는 나의 길을 가야겠구나라고 영재가 깨닫게 되는 또 그런 맥락이 담겨져 있다고 생각을 합니다. 네.
I think when Youngjae first visits Chisong, I think there possibly could have been a sense of admiration for Chisong because he's a boy in his teens, and I think there was this, general thought of, oh, I think at least he would be someone who's better than the dad who has raised me, right? But I think the process of this film shows how Youngjae actually slowly realizes that he cannot follow in Chisong's footsteps either. He doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of the father, Dong-seok, who raised him, but also it's his realization of realizing that I need to go my own way, not Chisong's way or Dong-seok's way, but my own way.
I think I have time for one last question. So my last question is about the idea of defects. And for many, like for Young Jae, he says he has a heart defect and that he wants to be compensated for it. And I thought that was interesting because as children, we've never really been taught to think of our parents as owing us something. We're always taught to think that we owe our parents for bringing us into the world. But for Young Jae, he was like, no, you brought me your actions, your donation of the sperm led to me being conceived, and life isn't what I think I deserve. So talk to me about that, about Young Jae, like taking advocacy for himself and say, I deserve compensation for not being given the life that I think I deserve.
그 영재 하자에 대한 얘기가 나오는데요. 그게 굉장히 흥미롭게 느껴졌는데, 영재가 이제 손해배상을 청구를 하잖아요. 근데 사실 부모랑 자식 간에서 자식이 뭔가 부모한테 뭔가를 요구할 권리가 있다고는 생각을 잘 안 하고, 보통은 이제 반대로 낳아주고 길러주신 부모님에 대한 어떤 뭐 보답을 해드려야 된다, 그렇게 생각을 하기 일쑤인데, 이렇게 뭔가 영재가 내가 원하는 인생이 아니었다라는 이유로 이렇게 뭔가를 요구를 하는 점에 대해서는 어떻게 생각을 하고, 네.
저는 이게 조금 우리가 생명에 대한 좀 근원적인 불만 제기일 수도 있다고 생각을 하는데, 곰곰이 생각해 보면은, 사실 저도 지금 뭐, 당연히 아이가 없는데,
Mm.
옛날에 되게 이렇게 무서웠던 적이 있거든요. 만약에 내가 아이가 생긴다면, 그 아이가 나한테 이렇게 말하면 어떡하지? 나를 왜 태어나겠냐고. 내가 너한테 부탁을 했냐고. 나는 세상에 태어나려고 부탁한 적도 없는데, 만들지 않았냐고. 사실은 우리가 모든 사람들이 좀 그런 불만을 품을 수 있다고 생각을 해요. 어떻게 보면은. 근데 저는 그런 문제 제기가 그래서 합당하거나 그게 최종적인 결론이 되어야 된다고 생각하지는 않고 거기서 더 나아가서 그런 문제 제기에서 물론 출발을 하겠지만 더 나아가서 그러면은 내가 왜 계속 살아가야 되는지, 그건 내가 어떻게 살아야 돼야 될지, 왜 태어나는지는 모르겠지만 어떻게 살아가야 될지는 자기가 선택할 수 있는 게 아닌가. 그 방향으로 좀 더 영재가 성장하는 얘기를 해보고 싶었고, 아까 그 말했던 그런 문제 제기, 왜 나를 만들었는가, 왜 나를 이렇게 만들었는가는 제목이기도 한 어떻게 보면 소설 프랑켄슈타인의 그 괴물이죠. 괴물이 빅터 프랑켄슈타인에게 했던 그, 어떤 절규에서 또 인용을 했다고도 네, 볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. 네.
Mm.
So I think that this question asking why you've made me born into this world, I think that's actually a fundamental question that we can all have because obviously right now I don't have a child, but I've always thought in fear, if I were to have a child, what if that child were to ask me, why did you make me born into this world? I didn't ask, so I think it is a universal question that we might all have in the back of our minds at some point. Though I don't think this is a conclusion to that answer, but I think the question can lead to thinking of, well, okay, then if we are here in this world, why do I keep living? Or how do I want to keep living? And there's a choice in that. And I think I wanted to depict Youngjae's growth in finding the answers to those questions. And I think this is also an allusion, as the title says, the monster that Victor has made, he actually howls at Victor and asks, or howls, why did you make me? That is a question that he has, and so that is also an allusion to a reference to the title as well.
Yeah, like there's consequences for everything, and very rarely do we consider the consequences, and for parents, they very rarely they consider the consequences of their actions on their child, and the film, I think you did a very smart thing in framing it as like Youngjae claiming for defects, compensation for defects, but I didn't see the defects as being birth defects. I kind of see it as more of a situational defect, as like he wasn't he was living in a house with a father who was an alcoholic, like that's a defect, in a society that I expect that puts too much pressure on him as a male, that's a defect. So like I think your film does talk a lot about how what we consider to be defects in life, like for instance congenital defects really aren't what we should be considering. It's more about circumstantial. So I think you did a very smart thing, and I think it's very necessary to have a film like this about fathers and sons and
네,
menopause.
아버지와 그 아들의 관계를 다루는 영화 자체가 있는 게 굉장히 고무적인 일이라고 생각을 하고요. 하자 얘기를 했지만 제가 보기에는 이 하자라는 게 사실은 어떤 유전적인 하자나 결함에 대한 얘기 자체보다는 어떤 우리가 살고 있는 사회적인 하자, 이제 영재 같은 경우에는 이제 아버지가 이제 알코올 중독을 앓고 있고, 이제 여러 가지 남성으로서 이제 세상이 이제 남성에게 부과하는 어떤 부담감, 여러 가지 이제 사회적인 하자에 대한 불만인 것도 같아서 그런 식으로 다루었던 것도 굉장히 인상적이었습니다. 일단은 너무 감사드리고요. 네.
그래서 너무 깊게 잘 봐주신 것 같아서 많은 생각들을 해주시고 해서 감사합니다. 네.
Carolyn, I want to thank you for such insightful questions. Thank you for going really deep into your work and your questions. Really appreciated.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it. The film really did make me think a lot, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the time for speaking to me. Thank you. 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks. Bye. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
So that was another episode of Caroline Talks. And in this episode, I spoke to writer and director Chi Jae-young to talk about his film, Frankenstein Father, which is a film that I wish we had, a type of film that I wish we had more of, where it talks about the dynamics of fathers and sons, but also between men and other men and boys, and how society affects relationships between them, but also just, like the responsibilities of parents and that they owe to themselves, but also to their children, and the questions that children have for their parents. And I really appreciate the perspective that Chi Jae-young took in making this film. It's a very unique film. For one thing, it's not very often that we have Korean films that talk about parental relationships between fathers and parental relationships in this way. And that's just like globally, but for Korea especially. And I really appreciate him giving me feedback on that, because he said he appreciated my question and my thoughts on the films. And I also appreciate that, because sometimes I do think, am I talking too much? Am I going too deep? Like it may seem weird to think that, but that's just kind of how my brain is. But I always appreciate when they give me that kind of feedback, and I always appreciate that they appreciate the time and care that I take from my interviews and research I do. Because I appreciate the time and research that they do into creating these characters and these stories and these films that make me think, in ways that I haven't thought before. Even with all the films that I watch and books that I read and people that I talk to, I always love when I watch a film and make me go, I never thought about that, even at my age. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate his film, and I appreciate all the filmmakers that I've spoken to for New York Asian Film Festival so far, and the interviews that I have to go going forward from here. Of course, you can find the video version of this on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Caroline_Hinds. That's HINDS. Go to my digital portfolio, r3.com/Caroline Hinds. I'm on Twitter and Instagram @Carrie, CNH12, CRRIECNH12. My hashtags are Caroline Talks. And if you use KCrush, that's for the KCrush American Magazine. You can, if you go on the site kcrush.com, you'll see all of the interviews that I've done for that website as well. I co-host Saturday Night Sci-Fi every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to jump in and join in if you want. And my dog is staring at me, and I have to return my neighbor's dog to her because I've been puppy sitting for the evening, and I've done 3 interviews today, all one right after the other. So I'm a bit tired. So until my next episode of Caroline Talks, everyone stay safe. Bye.